Nightfall in downtown Cleveland. And at Progressive Field, we're getting ready for Game 2 of this doubleheader between the Cleveland Indians and the Minnesota Twins. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Minnesota beat up the Tribe in the opener. Now the Indians will try to salvage a split here this evening. And in doing so, they'll send Cody Anderson to the mound. He's coming off 4 consecutive wins, during which time he's only given up 4 runs.
As a matter of fact, and all those wins have come against the Central Division. This will be his 5th straight start. In his last start against Minnesota, he did a beautiful job pitching into the 7th inning, allowing just 1 run. Cody Anderson with a good fastball, the changeup as he's had. He has a cutter that he uses and an occasional curveball. We'll see if he can go out there. He's pitched beautiful in the month of September. Look at that, 4-0, 138 earned run average, only 8 walks, 16 strikeouts, and he's not really a strikeout pitcher. He's a pitch-to-contact kind of guy. 4-1 this year against the Central Division.
Minnesota will counter with Mike Pelfrey. We'll be back with the starting lineups and tonight's first pitch of our doubleheader right after this. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. All right, the Tribe is taking the field, getting ready for Game 2 of our doubleheader. Cody Anderson on the hill. Let's take a look at Paul Molitor's starting lineup for Minnesota. It's brought to you by Toyota. Brian Dozier once again will lead it off. Joe Mauer in the 2-hole. Miguel Sano will DH and bat third. Trevor Plouffe batting cleanup. Then it's Eddie Rosario and Torrey Hunter. Aaron Hicks, Chris Herman behind the plate, Eduardo Escobar, the shortstop, batting ninth.
And tonight's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher Cody Anderson making his 15th start, 6-3. He is 3-1 at home, 435 earned run average. His last start against Minnesota, he got the win, 6 2/3 innings, 10 hits. Now, this is the way a doubleheader is supposed to be played. Let's go. 25 minutes in between game, half an hour. Let's get right back at it.
We're underway. First ball swinging just like the first game. Dozier pops it up. Carlos Santana has it one away.
Well, let's set that Indians defense for you. Brought to you by Ram. In the outfield, it's going to be Martinez in left, Almonte in center. Chisenhall gets a start over and right. Johnson is at third, Lindor at short, Ramirez at second, Santana is at first. Moore is behind the dish tonight.
Crew chief Jeff Kellogg has the plate tonight. Brian Onora at first, Mark Ripperger at second, Chad Whitson is at third. Here's Joe Mauer. 4 for 9 in the series. He homered in game 1 of the doubleheader. Mauer has hit in 8 straight here at Progressive Field. And in his career against the Tribe, a .333 career average with 33 doubles. I guess that got his foot. He never left the box. Umpire signals foul ball.
Well, it sounded a little funny going down.
You mentioned before that Minnesota has not been a very good road team this year, 36 and 43 mark overall. But since August 20th, they've gone 15 and 6 on the road.
Yeah, they
now.
played much better. You know, and now it's they hit one streak where when we went into Minnesota, Matt, where they had lost 5 in a row, and then they turned it around. You know, they had that long homestand, that what was it, 11 or 12 gamer. We came into town, they ended up taking 2 out of 3, and they were 4 and 6 on that homestand, that 11-day, 10-game homestand. And they put it together. They're very close to falling out of contention.
Minnesota now at 82 and 75. Angels are underway at home against Oakland. They're in the 3rd inning, no score there. I believe Houston is off tonight. So a win tonight in the nightcap for Minnesota would draw them even with Houston.
Yeah, right. Houston going to be playing tonight, but they're off tomorrow.
They're off tomorrow. I got
right.
You. I got
They
you.
play tonight. I think it's Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I lost track of the days.
I'm stuck in it. So have I.
Popped him up. And Lindor calls for it, makes the catch, 2 down. Key to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. No big inning. And that has been a problem for the Indians against Minnesota. They give up a big inning, and it usually means trouble.
Well, we told you 11 times this year Minnesota has scored 3 or more runs in an inning. And that has it's done them in.
Yeah, that and allowing the Twins to score first. When Minnesota has scored first, they've gone 9 and 2 against the Tribe. Miguel Sano, the Twins DH, 2 for 8 in the series. Sends a high, towering drive to deep left center field. Almonte makes the catch. 3 balls in the air, 3 outs. The Indians are coming to bat. Let's look at Terry Francona's starting nine, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot. He'll serve as the DH tonight. Jose Ramirez bats second. Then it's Francisco Lindor. Carlos Santana, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Chris Johnson. Abraham Almonte. Adam Moore makes his Indians debut tonight. And Michael Martinez bats ninth.
Then the big right-hander, 6'7", Mike Pelfrey makes the start. He's 31 years old. His record on the year, he's 6-10. In his last 7 starts, he is 0-3 and a high ERA of 5.5. In his 29 starts this year, Minnesota's 14-15. He has made 3 starts against the Indians this year, and he's 1-0. And 5 starts in this ballpark. He's 2-1 in his career.
And Jason Kipnis takes low, ball 1.
He will pitch the left-handers inside as well.
Lined into the glove of third baseman Trevor Plouffe, one away.
Well, good swing. Not much you could do there. Kipnis has been swinging it much better lately. Right into the tracks of Plouffe. Look at, he's going to go off to the side and make that catch. That ball was scorched. But it goes as an out.
Jose Ramirez showed bunt, took a strike. Back out of play. Ramirez 0 for 4 in game 1 of the doubleheader. Takes in off the plate. Way outside and a full count. The payoff pitch. High pop, left side out of play. Francisco Lindor waiting on deck. And that's ball 4. Indians have a base runner with 1 out here in the first.
Take a look at the Twins defense behind Pelfrey tonight. It is brought to you by Ram, and it looks like this. In the outfield, Rosario in left, Hicks in center, Hunter back in right. It'll be Plouffe at third, Escobar at short, Dozier is at second, Mauer at first, Herman doing the catching.
Francisco Lindor. Three for 7 in the series. He homered in the opener. Had 2 hits this afternoon. 2 stolen bases. Again, Pelfrey throws to first.
Yeah, they're going to pay a lot of attention to the base stealers here. Try and keep them close. For Pelfrey, base stealers are 8 out of 10. So that's one reason why. Another big guy. Let's see on that high leg kick. Looked like he delivered it quickly to home plate.
Caught the outside corner, and it's 1-1. And a foul right back. So Lindor behind in the count, 1-2. And takes that 1-2 pitch to left, but Rosario is there. 2 down. Our window system's game time temperature for game 2 of this doubleheader. The wind has definitely, died down from when we started this afternoon. But it's actually, just since we started, it's actually starting to push the ball out maybe toward left. But still on the cool side compared to what we've been used to last few weeks. Santana takes a strike. Carlos 0 for 8 in the series. He bloops one to left. That's going to drop. Santana's got a base hit. Ramirez aggressively goes to third.
He's caught. Oh, Dozier didn't see him halfway there. He went down to a slide. Rosario threw it into second, which was the play because Ramirez was going to get to third base. Because he blooped it down the line, you play Santana to pull. He gets it over to Dozier. But he wasn't looking back. You see it jammed him, got down on the trademark. No way they were going to get Ramirez with 2 outs. He's off at the crack of the bat, so he faked it to third and sort of spiked it into second base. Now watch, he goes halfway. He was thinking double, and he's going to kick it back in. Dozier never looked back.
First and third with 2 down for Lonnie Chisenhall. Lonnie with 7 homers, 44 driven in on the year. He's hit .272 on the year with runners in scoring position. Takes inside, 1-1.
See if the Tribe can grab the lead with 2 outs here in the first. Change up or breaking ball? Straight change by Pelfrey after he went inside with the fastball.
That one just missed inside. Good fastball. Tried to run it back over the inside corner. And it's 2-2.
Well, I told you he likes to pitch left-handers inside. He's not afraid. You see that ball comes way inside. Tried to bring it back over. Didn't get there. So now 2-2 count to Lonnie.
Only 20 times in their 75 home games this year have the Indians scored first.
Wow.
When they do, they're 17-3.
Now, that goes to show you. And they've done that in the second half for the most part. That's when they've really started to do some damage here offensively.
Missed outside, full count.
Well, now Pelfrey's he's on a 20-pitch first inning. Santana will get a head start at first.
And that is ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So 2 walks in the first for Mike Pelfrey. Loads him up for Chris Johnson.
Yeah, Pelfrey with the 2 walks in the inning. And the base hit that Santana got was, I mean, it jammed him. He just fought it off and blooped it in. But he has the bases loaded trying to work his way out of it. And Johnson has an opportunity to do a little 2-out damage.
Chopped to third, short hopped by Plouffe, and the Tribe leaves him loaded. No score after 1. No score, second inning. Some folks still filing in here at Progressive Field. Game 2 of our doubleheader. Minnesota took it to the Tribe in the first half, 7-1.
Yeah, the rain out last night forced this doubleheader today.
Trevor Plouffe bunts, and it goes foul.
Cody Anderson has made 8 starts after a Cleveland loss this year, and he is 4-1. The Indians, as a team, are 6-2 after that loss. So he's pitched well, 3 of them in September. And you know how he's pitched in September, so he's been very clutch for the Indians.
Right back to him, and a nice play by
that
Cody.
Stab.
1 away.
Nice play by the big man. That ball, it looks like Ramirez was at second base playing him up the middle, but he stabbed it, and no telling. You see him come into play. That ball looked like it was going to be just over second base, if not the shortstop side, but Ramirez might have been there. I wouldn't have been surprised. But he gets it, makes a nice play, and gets the first out.
To right field, and Chisenhall puts it away, 2 down.
Well, get live Indians baseball all season long with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Torrey Hunter takes a strike. And he lines it into right field for a base hit. So Minnesota has their first base runner with 2 outs here in the second.
He's the one that in his last start was able to get Cody Anderson for the home run, and his only run in the ball game was Torrey Hunter coming in the 7th, so he gets the first hit today with 2 outs in the second.
Fly ball to left off the bat of Aaron Hicks. And Martinez will make the catch. Only took 7 pitches. And the inning is over. No score, middle of the second. Our stat of the game is brought to you by Buick. Within the Central Division this year, the Indians have gone 9-10 against the White Sox and Royals, 7-11 against Detroit, 6-11 against Minnesota.
I mean, they do not have a winning record against anybody, and that's why they're 31-42.
Bottom third of the order due here.
Certainly one thing you know coming out of spring training, or when you go into spring training, if you want to do well, you have to play well in your division and handle your business. The Indians haven't been able to do that this year.
Up and away.
You look at it, you have Kansas City that's 39-32 in the Central. Minnesota's 39-32. And Detroit is 40-32. And then you have the White Sox 30-41. And then the Indians 31-42.
To center. Well hit. Hicks back on the track looking up off the top of the wall. And Almonte speeds into second base with a leadoff double.
Almonte hit that ball very well. That was a fastball down. It was sort of middle of the plate, and he gave it a ride. It hit off the auxiliary scoreboard up there, played nicely. He was thinking 3 all the way. He wanted to get himself another triple, but Hicks out there played it well coming off the wall. It's his 8th double, but it's a leadoff double.
Adam Moore makes his Cleveland Indians debut here tonight. Formerly with the Padres, the Royals, and the Mariners. Spent the whole year at AAA Columbus. Did a really nice job with that Clippers staff. He hit .282 for Columbus this year in 92 games. And he hit .319 against right-handed pitching in particular. Moore is 31 years old, so he's not a kid prospect. Let's go down to Andre Nada as to why he's in there and not Roberto Perez.
Well, Roberto Perez usually would be the guy that would play in a second game of a doubleheader, but he took a foul ball late in the game in Kansas City on Sunday off of his foot. Now, he was working with the trainers earlier today, working on his foot and doing some running. He says it's getting better, but right now he does have some extra padding on it, and I think they're giving him an extra day off to try to get his foot better, but he's swole up on him a little bit. He got beat up on the last road trip, so that's why he's out tonight.
All right, thanks, Andre. Adam Moore cuts and misses. First strikeout for Pelfrey. One down here in the second. And that will bring up Michael Martinez. Lines it right back up the middle and through.
I think that got a piece of Pelfrey.
Almonte coming around to score. Throw way offline to the backstop it goes, and Martinez gets into scoring position. So give Martinez an RBI single, and the Indians a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and give an error to Hicks out in center field. I thought that ball got a piece of Pelfrey. Let's go be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. The Indians get the lead. There's a breaking ball. It did.
It did hit off his right arm.
Deflected off his arm. It looked like it did. I heard a little tip. He hung him a breaking ball, and it goes right back up the middle. So Almonte around to score. The throw by Hicks way off line. Gets past Herman, the catcher, and that allows Martinez to go to second base. So it'll be a hit and an error. Give Martinez an RBI, and ouch. Looked like it went off the bicep.
Now Jason Kipnis, who lined out to third, is only time up. Takes low ball one. right back. And a count 1-2. Got a piece and stays alive.
I want to send out a very happy birthday to Patrick DiBiasio, turning 25 today. Patrick, happy birthday. The son of Bobby and Penny. If you're around, you're watching.
Happy birthday.
Hope you have fun, pal. 25, it's a great age.
There's the 1-2 to Kipnis, and he pulls it into the Twins dugout. Molitor had to sidestep that one. Abraham Almonte led off the inning with a double off the wall and left. Michael Martinez drove him home with a single. Went to second on a throwing error, and now Kipnis awaits a 1-2 pitch.
Well, that's what he has to do to be effective to the left-handers. He's going to have to pitch him inside, but he's going to have to hit for some strikes in there and not just back him off the plate. First time through the lineup, they are 3 for 7 because he walked 2 guys coming through the first time. And they have had opportunities. And it's early. He's at 35 pitches.
Line to short. And that will be out number 2.
Well, there's 4 games remaining here at Progressive Field. And if you want to come out, we have $10 bleacher tickets that are waiting for you. Come on out. Get your $10 bleacher tickets. Go to Indians.com.
Jose Ramirez drew a walk in the first. Takes inside, ball 1. That's out of play. Toronto Blue Jays clinched the American League East tonight with a 15-2 win over Baltimore. That's doing it emphatically.
Yeah, well, they've done that quite a while. I think they have outscored their opponents by 230 some runs this year.
They've won 6 in a row.
Well, I don't know how many times they've scored in double digits. It was quite a few.
Toronto also lays claim to the best record in the American League now.
Yes, they do. Kansas City's playing their way out of that home field advantage, but they had a nice lead until they got to the month of September.
In the gap, left center field. That'll get down and go to the wall. Martinez will score, and Jose Ramirez with a 2-out RBI double, and the Indians' lead is 2-0.
Second double in the inning. A big 2-out double for Ramirez. Put a nice stroke on it. It was a fastball out over the plate. Ramirez with his 24th RBI. Martinez will come in to score. So the Indians with a crooked number on the board. Their last 3 games, they've scored 0-3 and or 0-2 and 1 run. So they've got 2 on the board early.
Off the plate. Mauer with a nice backhanded pick, but Lindor beats it out.
Yeah, that was a slow developing play, and they would have had to make it perfectly. And Pelfrey was right to get in there, and he had to peek around with 2 outs with Ramirez on second. He could have kept coming around third, so he wanted to pay attention to him. See the high bounce, and once Mauer goes for the short hop, he has to lead Pelfrey, but the speed. Oh, that was awfully close. Molitor's looking at it. They may want to challenge that. He's waiting for it. Ooh. That's close. I don't know if he wants to challenge it this early and lose his challenge. Ball's in the glove. Boy, that's about the same time. That's going to be close. They're going to challenge it. He wants to challenge it to try and get him out of this inning, I think, is why.
Sure.
It was a bang play, and you know, it could have went either way. He had the ball in his glove on that last few inches that he was going to the base, and Lindor made that one long stride to get there. So it's going to be under review, and we'll take a look. And this may take a while because that's how close it was.
Brian O'Nora makes the call at first base.
From that angle, it looked like his foot hit the base. Lindor's did before Pelfrey's from that angle. On this one, it was hard to tell. Pelfrey's, now it looks like his foot hit the base on that angle. That's going to be a tough one to overturn.
Jeff Kellogg is the crew chief. He's on your right.
That's how close it was. Bang, bang. Almost looked like a tie. They are going to have to slow this down when you talk about frame by frame.
Yeah. And you also wonder if there's another angle. Maybe the Twins television has a different look. I don't know.
I know it. You're right. They'll get every look at it. But, I mean, when you're an umpire and you see it, real time, you can't really tell. Because
Ball's
you can see it's a tough play. Now, is his foot on the base there?
Not yet.
If it is, then he's out. But it's hard to tell.
Yeah, there it is. I think he beats Lindor by an eyelash.
Okay, that's assuming that he's got big feet. I'm sure it might have caught the corner of the bag. Who knows? That's going to be a tough one. They're going to wait around, and Pelfrey's just standing, waiting around. He should be maybe tossing the baseball to stay loose. If that prolongs the inning, it'll keep runners at first and third. The Indians already with 2 runs in, and it'll bring up Santana, who could do some more damage with 2 outs.
Again, it was such a close play that they'll probably go back and forth on the replay a number of times in mission control. Sometimes I've been amazed at how quickly they make decisions, and sometimes I'm amazed at how long it takes them.
That doesn't surprise me on this one. For them to overturn this and call him out, they really got to see the evidence. So they're going to take a while. Every angle they have. For Minnesota, if it gets overturned, that would be a big, very big play. Get them out of the inning, and they could go to hitting. If not, they could still be in hot water.
And out of challenges.
That's right. You know, it's funny. You wonder what those guys are talking about when they see the replays on the board. They're going to the challenge, and they say, well, I thought I beat it. Well, I thought I was out. Really close play.
meantime, Brian O'Nora and Jeff Kellogg await the verdict from the replay command center in New York. This is a long one. There we go.
One left. The crew chief left, but the other guy, the home plate umpires.
Well, Jeff Kellogg is the crew chief. He's still on the headset.
Okay, he's trying to get it.
Wow. So they don't overturn it. Lindor is safe at first, and the Twins are out of challenges. So Molitor rolled the dice. I thought he had a pretty good argument. The angles that we saw, it looked like that maybe Pelfrey's foot beat Lindor to the bag.
It's you know what, it was so close on either way. It could have went either way, and you wouldn't have had a legitimate. If his foot's touching the base, then it looked like he was out.
This was the one I thought it looked like he had him because the ball's in the glove. It's just a matter of is the foot beat him there? Maybe he didn't touch the base, Rick.
I know. Well, when you're going as good as Frankie's going right now, it stays as a base hit. So the call stands.
That replay lasted over 4 minutes. And the ball gets away, and it pays off handsomely now for Cleveland as they pick up another run.
Remember when they were going through that? It was a 4-minute challenge, challenge. It took that long. Pelfrey wasn't throwing.
Yeah.
And the first pitch comes out of there, and he throws a wild pitch. It's his fifth on a year, and it costs him a run.
Yeah, it's a 3-0 lead now for the Tribe.
Look at it. He spikes this ball down and in, and Herman tried to backhand it. It gets past him. So Ramirez comes in to score. Lindor goes to second. It's now a 3-0 game.
Carlos Santana base hit his first time up. And it's in there for a strike. Minnesota gets their bullpen up already.
Yeah, they can't afford to fall behind by anything more. They've got to try and keep it where it is. As we said starting today's game, it's tough to win one game, let alone two. In the course of the day, there's Graham getting loose. 4 hits in the inning for the Indians. 3 runs on the board.
And now Santana sitting pretty, 3-1. Right back up the middle and through. Lindor streaming around third. He will score. A 4-run second for Cleveland. Santana's 2 for 2. And that replay really looms large now as the Indians have scored 2 since Paul Molitor challenged that play at first.
Yeah, and you had to challenge because it gets you out of the inning. He falls behind it. I mean, he comes back out after that and throws the first pitch, wild pitch, to the backstop, and then falls behind Santana, and there goes Molitor to the mound. He's seen enough. He cannot afford to fall behind any farther. It's a 4-run second, so a big inning for the Indians. It's going to turn the table on the Minnesota Twins.
Carlos Santana's 32nd 2-out RBI of the year. That's tops on the club. Mike Pelfrey gets the early hook, and the Cleveland Clinic call of the bullpen is for J.R. Graham. He'll be coming on when we come back. First rewind, and this has been a crazy inning for the Tribe. Michael Martinez line one off the pitcher Pelfrey, plating Abraham Almonte. And then Jose Ramirez gapped one to left center. That drove in a run. Then the bang-bang play at first. The hustle by Francisco Lindor. He's called safe. A 4-minute plus review. The call stands, and then a wild pitch and an RBI single. And it's now a 4-run inning for Cleveland. The new pitcher is J.R. Graham, as Lonnie Chisenhall steps in and takes ball one.
Graham for the 38th time this year, 61 in the third innings.
Runner goes, and he's out at second base. Carlos Santana thrown out to end the inning.
Looks like Francona wants to take a look at this as well. We're just holding a second. He's trying to get, no, he said go ahead. He's out.
So Santana thrown out to end the inning. Tribe scores 4. The big inning puts them in front 4-0. Indians on top 4-0 as we head to the third now. Cody Anderson got to sit around and watch his club score. And now he'll try to.
They're watching the monitors out there.
Chris Herman takes a strike.
Yeah, right now for Cody, come out and continue to pound the strike zone. And he will.
Yeah.
That's his
MO, right?
Yeah, it sure is. You come out there, he pitches to contact. He's not a strikeout guy per se. He has 42 out of his 84 innings, but he doesn't walk many. Make you put it in play, let your defense work.
Upstairs with a fastball. And a breaking ball down low. Well pitched. Good execution. First strikeout for Anderson, 1 down.
Well, and it comes on his changeup, and we'll make this his Circle K strikeout of the night. Boy, that ball, it must have great arm speed because start after start, you see the hitters way out in front. but he keeps it down into an area where you can't really hit it. If he leaves it up, they'll have a chance. But when it's down there and you have 2 strikes, you're not going to do much with it.
Ball 1 to Eduardo Escobar. Fastball strike. 1-1. Curveball misses outside. Here's the payoff pitch, and it's outside. So Cody walks the number 9 hitter. Injury report tonight brought to you by the injury lawyers at El Canal. Troy Tulowitzki took some BP for the Blue Jays. They're hoping to get him back in time for the playoffs. And Adam Wainwright off the DL tonight for St. Louis.
Well, St. Louis will be happy to get him back even if it's coming out of the bullpen, just to be a part of it. You know, he's such a leader.
That'll go foul. Dozier will come back and try again.
For Cody Allen, we told you he doesn't walk many. That's just the second time this year that he's walked the number 9 hitter. And Dozier doing the smart thing right there. He's trying to get base runners. You know, he saw Johnson might have been back at third base, trying to lay down a bunt and get something started with 1 out here. That was the element of surprise there.
Well, and when we were in Minnesota, you mentioned it at the time that it didn't look like Dozier was seeing the ball real well.
Right.
And you know, he comes in right now 0 for 9 in the series.
And he's been aggressive early in the count. He's made some easy outs on 1 pitch. You know what I'm saying? He's been way too aggressive looking for 1 pitch. You know, it almost looks like he's looking for 30 homers.
To right field, Lonnie Chisenhall. 2 down. And that'll bring up Joe Mauer. Mauer hit his 10th home run of the year in the first game of the doubleheader, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for him that's a big year because the last time he hit that many was in 2013 when he hit 11.
Never was much of a power hitter. He had more power when they played inside the dome where he could left center field or left field was more reachable than target field is in that dome. Him and Morneau.
It's not that he doesn't have the power. I mean, we saw that ball he crushed today to center field. It's just the way he uses his swing.
Well, right. It's like Ichiro. For example, a leadoff hitter. You watch these guys at batting practice or whatever, they could hit the ball a long way. And remember the ball that Mauer hit off Kluber, how far he hit it. He has power. And earlier in the year, if you remember, they're coming out of spring training, they were saying they would like Joe to turn on the ball, hit more home runs for this ball club. when he was hitting third, and it really looked like it messed up his swing early until he got back into the groove. He just sits on the ball. He doesn't like to hit the ball out in front. He likes to hit the ball from the middle to left field and take his base hits, and he'll take his walks. It's just it's not him to try and turn on the ball. And, he's played long enough, and he's been a great hitter for so many years, and he's won batting titles, to look for balls in certain counts and go ahead and let it fly. But it's just not. It's not him. They gave him all that money, and he was hitting 340, 350, and he was a catcher, and that's where he made the money. But now when you move him to first base and you see the power numbers he puts up, the RBIs, sure, he gets on base. He had that string of how many times consecutive did he get on base? 43, 44 times. But Trevor Plouffe's the big guy as far as RBIs on that team. And there's a walk, another walk.
Pretty good-looking pitch, though. So 2 walks in the inning keeps the inning alive for Miguel Sano. Not a guy you'd want to do that for.
Because one swing of the bat with this guy, and he can bring him right back into play.
Our Levin Furniture player profile, Miguel Sano, signed out of the Dominican Republic 6 years ago. Position player who had to have Tommy John surgery, so he missed all of last year. But what an August he had, hitting 9 home runs.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, he hit the ball hard his first time up and flew deep to center field.
Routine fly ball to center field this time. And the inning is over. Middle of the third, it's Cleveland 4, Minnesota nothing. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. For nothing, the Indians are on top as we go to the bottom of the third, and Lonnie Chisenhall will lead it off. J.R. Graham came on in the second, and while he was facing Chisenhall, Carlos Santana got thrown out trying to steal to end that inning. Good fastball from Graham, and a count 0-2. Bounced in the hole, and Chisenhall's got a base hit. Now, if you've got a shortstop playing a normal shortstop position, that's an easy out, but with the shift on, it's perfectly placed.
Well, and there's a high changeup away, and he just threw a fastball by Chisenhall. He comes back with the changeup. He didn't locate it, so Chisenhall fights it, gets it through the infield, and gets a base hit. Hit number 7 for the Tribe.
Chris Johnson bounced to third, his only time up. J.R. Graham came to the Twins from Atlanta in the Rule 5 draft in December. Missed a little bit of time recently with some shoulder inflammation. But it's always difficult for a guy that, when he gets in that Rule 5 situation, he's got to stay on the big league club all season long. So he went right from Double-A to the big leagues, which isn't necessarily unusual. A lot of guys make that jump. Shattered bat off the glove of Graham, but he'll get the out at first. And Chisenhall gets in the scoring position.
Well, what that does, he looked like he might have had a double play, but not catching that ball. Only play was first base. Enables Chisenhall to get to second and just sawed off the bat of Johnson right there. Look at that. Holy smokes.
Pieces of that bat went flying everywhere.
Yeah, they went behind him. They went out in front of the plate, and he still had the handle in his hand.
I'll bring up Abraham Almonte, who doubled and scored in the second. Shot to third. Nice stop by Plouffe. And he'll throw him out.
That was a nice play. Took a hit away from Almonte. Just got up and nonchalantly throws it to first base right on the money. A one hopper. Falls to his right. Gets back up. Picks up his target. And now there are 2 outs.
And it will bring up the catcher.
That guy is a very underrated player, I think. You know, around baseball. I mean, the Minnesota Twins know how good he is. He does everything. He can play third base. He hits with runners in scoring position. He's got some pop in the bat. He's a solid player, and he always plays well against the Indians. You know, he's going to be close. I don't think he's a free agent at the end of the year. He's got like 5.5 years. Maybe a little more than that. I don't think he can be a free agent, but he certainly would be arbitration eligible, and he's having a nice year for him.
Yeah, I think he falls short.
Yeah, just barely.
Be a year away, I think, from free agency.
But boy, a very important player for those Twins.
Out of play. By the way, if you joined us late, Mike Pelfrey, the starter for Minnesota, lasted just an inning and 2/3. This was his 213th career start, and only once in his career has he had a start that went shorter than tonight, and that was 5 years ago against Arizona when he only went an inning and a third. So pretty rare for Pelfrey to get knocked out. But given the circumstances, you know, if this game's in say, July, then maybe Paul Molitor stays with him, maybe gives him more leeway to try and get through that inning. But with everything that's kind of riding on the outcome, he figured he had to get him out of there when he did.
And that's exactly why he made that challenge. Try and get out of that inning and keep it to where it was. The Indians are able to add 2 more instead of keeping it a 2-run inning, and it's under control. It snowballs into a 4-run inning, and now you've got a lot of work cut out for you because now your bullpen has to put zeros on the board the rest of the way. And you can see Neil Allen on the phone to that bullpen. They're going to have it working all night long.
Left-hander Brian Dunsing is up and ready. He'll be coming on to face Kipnis should we get to the top of the order. And we might, because Adam Moore just rifled a ball in right field. They're going to wave home Chisenhall. The throw to the plate. He is safe. Adam Moore has his first hit and first RBI as an Indian. And it's a 5-0 Cleveland lead.
Well, another 2-out run for the Indians. That's 3 now out of the 5 they have. Moore struck out his first time, but pays dividends here. He gets a high fastball out over the plate and took it to right field. In comes Hunter. Good throw. It's just a little tardy. Chisenhall coming into the plate safely with 2 outs, and out comes Paul Molitor. Now, that's, as we were saying, they had to put zeros up. They didn't. It's now a 5-run ball game, and now the Indians have an opportunity to really open this one up.
Yeah, he's not going to wait for Kipnis. He wants him to come on and get out of the inning now. Timeout. We're in the 3rd, and the Indians are in control. Well, we're in the 3rd inning, and already the 3rd pitcher of the night for Minnesota. Left-hander Brian Dunsing making his 54th appearance on the year. Tribe has a runner at first with 2 down. And Michael Martinez will be the batter. And Martinez, who drove in a run and scored a run in the 2nd, takes ball 1. Slowly chopped to short, charging Escobar makes a good throw. That'll end the inning. But Adam Moore, in his Tribe debut, knocks home a run to make it 5-0 Cleveland.
Well, come on out. The final homestand of the season from the corner with the $13 district tickets presented by Sports Time Ohio. Tickets available only at Indians.com. Running out. 4 games left. Tomorrow night, the Twins are in for their final game. Then for the weekend, it's the Boston Red Sox to close it out.
Trevor Plouffe will lead off for Minnesota. Then it's Eddie Rosario and Torrey Hunter. Up high, ball 1. Bullseye. 1-1.
I like that pitch. He doesn't use it often, but when he does, it really takes a hitter off. It's just a different look from that fastball. He does mix in a cutter and that changeup, but boy, that's really a good pitch for him. You only use it a handful of times during the course of the game, and then he follows it up with a changeup and gets the punch out.
Second strikeout for Anderson, 1 away.
You know, here it comes. Here comes a changeup. Give you something. You see him turn it over. Even though it was upstairs a little bit, still gets a swing and miss. Now, this is a guy that can drive the ball, and he's trying to hit it a little bit farther. That's why you get away with it there, compared to more of a contact hitter that'll put a shorter swing on it.
Eddie Rosario looks at a ball outside. Fastball down low, 2-0. Oh, that nailed the umpire on the foul back.
Yeah, he said he's all right.
Up and away, 3-1. Lines it to short, right into the glove of Francisco Lindor. 2 down. Let's go down and check in with Andre.
You know, guys, as we watched that strikeout of Plouffe just a couple minutes ago with the changeup from Anderson, he's a big body guy. And Rick, I got to ask you, for a changeup coming from a big body guy like him, does he hide it very well? Because there's only about a 7 to 8 mile per hour difference in his fastball to his changeup. But what makes it work so well?
The only thing I can see, but I'm guessing it's the arm speed that looks identical to the fastball. And then all of a sudden it's that circle change. It's got good movement going down and away.
Almonte chases this one into the gap. And the Twins go 1-2-3 quickly here in the 4th. Time now to tweet your strongest fan photo to us using the hashtag STO DataStrongFan for a chance to have one of your pictures shown during an upcoming telecast courtesy of T-Mobile. Jason Kipnis will lead off the home half of the fourth. He's hit a couple of line drives, and he's 0 for 2. After he had a 3-hit performance earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, for the 18th time this year. We're in the 4th inning. He's coming up for the 3rd time.
Brian Dunsing got the last out of the 3rd. Stays on here to start the 4th. Bullpen at the moment quiet for Minnesota. Right at the second baseman, Dozier. After a slight bobble, Kipnis beats it out. Dozier charged with an error as he didn't come up with it cleanly, and that was all it took because Kipnis was hustling all the way.
Well, it's the second error of the game for Minnesota. He went down to his knee and tried to keep it in front of him, but by that time, he didn't field it cleanly, so by the time he comes up, he just tried to get it and get rid of it, and Kipnis beats it out. Good hustle on the error. It looked like his footwork got messed up a little bit, and he stumbled, and that ball got a little too deep, to his body. Didn't get it out front, so it's an error, and the Indians started again.
Jose Ramirez takes a strike. Right back to the screen. And it's quickly 0-2 on Jose Ramirez. Back out of play. Popped him up on the infield. And Plouffe has that one away. Take a look at Arquilla in the driver's seat. And boy, Francisco Lindor having a whale of a day. He's having a good series.
Having a good year. Yeah, all those names, you got to go back quite a ways for the averages that you're seeing this young man have.
That's with at least 400 plate appearances. You don't think of him being here, you think some people think he's only been here since the trading deadline. He's been here since June. Throw down to second, and he's going to be safe. The ball got away.
Short hop, and Dozier could never really get it in his glove, and it almost looked like Kipnis knocked it out.
Yeah,
the throw beat him, but it was not in the air. It was on a short hop, and then Kipnis comes in and beats it out, so he'll get a stolen base. See the ball come into play, and Dozier just couldn't field it cleanly. And there goes the baseball. So Kipnis gets his 12th stolen base.
And a 100th in his career. But back to Lindor, you know, Rick, you forget he's played a lot more than people realize.
Well, he's been into the mid-90s as far as games go. '95 now.
Yeah.
So he's still done a remarkable job.
He drives this one to deep right. Back is Hunter. Over his head and gone! Francisco Lindor. His second home run of the series. A 2-run shot here in the fourth. Number 12 on the year. And the Indians have blown this baby wide open.
Oh, yes, they have. Boy, oh, boy. How about the power going the other way? You know, that wind at the start of game one was knocking it down. He crushed it. I don't know if it helped this one. But, boy, when you hit a ball like that and going the other way with the swing he put on it, that is smoked.
You could see by the reaction of both Dunsing and Herman, they knew it.
Sure. So a 2-run homer makes it a 7-0 ball game, and that's his second hit. And it continues for Francisco Lindor.
Outside corner, called a strike. Paul Molitor looking on. Not much he can do at this point. He's already on his third pitcher of the night. Bullpen back up for the Twins. Michael Tonkin, who pitched earlier this afternoon. Dunsing misses up high.
Yeah, well, now it's going to be, let me pitch those guys that will get me through tonight and not take away from the game tomorrow. They'll save everybody they're going to need in a 7-0. This is just the fourth inning. It was a 4-run second. They put one on the board in the third, now two here in the fourth.
Now the 2-2. And he strikes him out. 2 down. Our great clip of the game. Francisco Lindor's first career hit came at Comerica Park, and he stumbled going around first.
Could have had another double added on his docket if he wouldn't have.
Lindor drove in both Indians runs in the series opener, a game in which they lost. That's been rare because when he drives in at least one run, the Indians are 26-6 coming into tonight. The other thing I mentioned earlier was that in 40 games against the Central Division, he's batted .360, and he's got 4 hits today. 2 this afternoon, 2 tonight.
Well, you got to love that because he's going to get a lot of action against the Central. And when we're talking about Cody Anderson, he's 4-1 against the Central.
That should make the seats, and it will. Lonnie Chisenhall walked in that first inning to load the bases. Then he singled to lead off the third. Came around to score on Adam Moore's first hit as an Indian. Slicing near the line, and a nice backhanded catch by Rosario. That'll end the inning. But Francisco Lindor continues to light it up. A 2-run homer here in the fourth, and the Indians lead it 7-0. In Ohio, Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. 7-0 Cleveland. As we go now to the 5th inning. Bottom third of the order for Minnesota. Aaron Hicks to lead it off. Fly to left his only time up. Cody Anderson. Delivers a little bit high. He gets a pitch in there for a strike, and it's 2-1. The only hit allowed, a 2-out single by Torrey Hunter in the second. There's a looked like a changeup that floated over the inside corner.
Came right back with a 2-0 fastball away just to get in the strike zone, then followed that up with a changeup. So now back into the count.
Now the 2-2. And a chopper to second. Quick flip. One away. Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick. Earlier today, the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Cardinals in Game 1 of a doubleheader, but here in Game 2, the Cards are getting some revenge. A grand slam by Jason Hayward. That's his 13th of the year. Cards now lead the Pirates 9-0 in the 8th inning. Looks like a split's going to happen, fellas.
That is getting it back.
Yes, it is.
In the American League West, Texas trying to hold off a furious Los Angeles Angels charge. Angels have won 7 in a row, and they lead Oakland 5-3 in the 7th tonight, trying to make it 8 straight. But Texas leads Detroit 6-2 in the 4th. Rangers' lead was only 2 games over the Angels when the day began.
If it remains the same, then I'm thinking they go into the final 4 games of the series with a 4-game series, so the Angels would have to sweep. And then if they're tied, they would end up taking the wild card. They'd win the division. I'm sorry, because they've beaten the Rangers more.
High throw. Santana got the foot on the bag, though.
Oh.
Nicely done by Carlos, who came off the bag, but it looked like he reached back.
Yeah, with the other foot.
With the other foot.
Sure did. You know, sometimes you look, you say, boy, that's an easy play. You get ready for that easy throw. He's well off the bag, but well done to come back with the right foot back on the bag. As a ballerina, got the toe.
That might be the only time he's ever been referred to as a ballerina.
The toe on the bag.
Eduardo Escobar walked his only time up, takes ball 1 outside. And a breaking ball pulled foul. There's a high fly ball to right field. Lonnie Chisenhall settles under it. Makes the catch. Cody Anderson has retired 7 straight. Middle of the 5th. Tribe on top, 7-0. 7-0 Indians. 5th inning and the 4th different pitcher of the night for Minnesota already. It's starter Phil Hughes.
He was supposed to start game 1 here on Monday night. Was a victim of the flu or whatever bug was going around that Minnesota clubhouse.
Yeah, he's not listed as a bullpen guy, so this is really a case where, as you pointed out before, Paul Molitor wants somebody to eat up some innings so he doesn't have to burn through everybody in his
no
bullpen.
doubt. He's going to save that bullpen in case tomorrow night's ball game. This one's gotten away from him. So he's not going to use anybody he may end up using tomorrow night, I wouldn't think. Unless they come back into this game. But it's 7-0, and Cody Anderson's pretty much in control. He's only given up 1 base hit. It was a 2-out single.
Chris Johnson will lead it off. He's 0 for 2 tonight. And he looks at ball 1 down low. Missed outside. 2-0. Chris Johnson trying to snap out of an 0 for 15 slump. And he goes from 2-0 to 2-2. It's going to go back into the seats. And the count is 3-2. Tapper right back to the mound. 1 away. There's our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Jose Ramirez with an RBI double in the second as the Indians would jump out to a 5-0 lead. Adam Moore made it 5-zip with his first hit as an Indian in the third, and then Francisco Lindor's 2-run homer in the fourth made it 7-0. And Cody Anderson has made it stand up to this point. Oh, wow. A diving stop by Mauer, but no play. Hughes was late getting over.
Wow, that ruined an outstanding play by Mauer. As a pitcher, anything hit to that side, you know you've got to get over. And Hughes was late. I don't know if he was watching. He couldn't get there or watch. But Mauer, what a beautiful stop. That ball was hit right on the nose. But Almonte said, thank you. He beats it out. It's good hustle by him. He'll get a base hit. And he just couldn't get over there.
Yeah,
look at him. He's lumbering.
Yeah. It wasn't like he was a bystander. He just didn't have any fuel in the tank.
No, he did not. He was, he may be out of fuel.
Well, I think the Twins quickly recognize that, because just now we got a left-hander getting loose in the bullpen.
Well, we said he was supposed to be the starter in Monday's ball game. Extra rest, maybe Molitor's trying to get him in here, get him some work in and things like that. But when he sees he is can't get to first base and do something like that, and he's not throwing very hard, 88. He still looks like he's under the weather. So they are going to hurry up and get somebody else throwing.
To center. Hicks will make the grab, and Adam Moore is out number 2. The high school football road to glory rolls on this Friday night in Brecksville when Nordonia faces off with the Bees. Jeff Phelps, Frank Stams, and Ryan Cavanaugh will bring you all the action Friday at 11 after Indians Live on Sports Time Ohio. Two down for Michael Martinez. Ground ball to the second baseman, Dozier. And that will end the inning. No runs, a hit. A man left. After 5, it's 7-0 Cleveland. Don't forget to tweet your strongest fan photo to us using the hashtag STODataStrongFan for a chance to have one of your photos shown during an upcoming telecast. It's all courtesy of T-Mobile. Cody Anderson goes to work here in the 6th, top of the order for Minnesota. He has retired the last 7 Twins hitters in a row. Pulls it foul. And a count quickly 0-2 on Dozier. shoots this one down the right side, but that will also get out of play.
Nice
Popped him
change
up
up
right on the infield, and Santana, the first baseman, settles under it. One away. Now, don't forget the NHL season gets underway in just 9 days. We're counting down to the drop of the puck, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and all the action can be seen on the home of the Blue Jackets, Fox Sports Ohio.
Well, again, we told you this is going to be the 5th consecutive start for Cody Anderson against the Central Division here in the American League, and he's 4-0 in his last 4 starts. Beat Detroit and Justin Verlander twice, beat the White Sox and Chris Sale, went and beat Minnesota his last time and has a chance to do that twice, and looks pretty good right now. And, you know, when you continue to see hitters, and it was Dozier on that last swing, out in front of that changeup, that's how good it must be. The deception, the arm speed, they just can't pick it up, and they think it's a fastball. Whether he hides it, it's hard to tell. You'd have to be in the batter's box to see it. You'd have to ask the hitters, but boy, he continually goes out with that changeup, and he dominates.
Two and two.
And there's the real tell-all right there with this guy when he's out in front of a changeup, because he rarely fouls balls off to the first base side of the dugout. He usually stays on everything. For Cody Anderson, first time through the lineup, 29 pitches. Second time through, 34. Has still only given up just 1 hit. And that was back in the second inning. Torrey Hunter, a 2-out single. And other than that, he has been on cruise control. He's had 3 swings and misses.
The weak ground ball to second. That'll end the. That'll take care of Mauer, 2 down.
Well, you want to be here for the Tribe's annual Fan Appreciation Night. That'll take place Saturday. Boston Red Sox in town, and that evening will feature Sugardale Dollar Dogs. After the ball game, we'll have fireworks, and there will be giveaways as the Indians want to thank all the fans for their support this season. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Missed outside, ball 1. Pulls that foul. Swung out and missed. Good pitch by Cody Anderson. And a count 1-2. Boy, he has pitched very well tonight.
Well, he's been impressive really all year long when you think about it. 77 pitches on the night, 49 of them strikes.
Shows him a high fastball. Does he come back with a changeup?
Why not?
He did, but it was not enticing enough for Sano. Full count.
These two guys here have a chance of matching up for quite some time.
Yeah, they do.
You know, the young hitter Sano, young pitcher Cody Anderson in the division.
Just missed with a fastball. And Sano draws a 2-out walk.
That's the third walk for Cody tonight.
Two have come with 2 outs. And Trevor Plouffe 0 for 2 on the night is the batter.
You know, when you think of the second half and you think of this pitching staff, there's the second
bag.
hit. Did it really?
I think it did.
Skipped off the top of it?
That ball was scorched.
Yeah, Plouffe hit it hard. He wasn't going to spot him anything that one. Let's take a look at it and see. Yeah, get out of the way. There you go. And
no, it just,
boy, it was close.
Missed
It looked like it, though. You know, we're talking about the second half of the year and how the Indians have done so well. When you think about it, this guy, Cody Anderson, 6-3, and a chance to be 7-3 tonight, and Josh Tomlin, 6-2. Those two guys, where they were looking for a number 5 starter all year, have been outstanding.
Cody will go to first. That will end the inning. No runs, a hit, 2 left. Middle of the 6th, 7-0 Cleveland.
Well, getting ready as the season draws to an end. You can enjoy fireworks this Friday right here at the ballpark at Progressive Field. The Indians take on the Red Sox. They'll follow a sing-along theme and presented by Wayside Furniture. You can visit Indians.com for your tickets. They'll also have them Saturday as well. And then you're going to have to go all winter without fireworks.
Ryan O'Rourke is the latest Minnesota pitcher to enter the ball game. O'Rourke coming out to pitch here in the 6th after Phil Hughes went 1 scoreless inning, giving up 1 hit. Jason Kipnis is taking a strike. Kip is 0 for 3 tonight. Reached on an error and scored his last time up.
That's a low blow. Let's go. Well, you better show up.
O'Rourke was a 13th round pick 5 years ago. He strikes out Jason Kipnis one away. Ramirez looks at a ball in the dirt. And he shoots this one fouled on the right side. Jose doubled in a run and scored back in the second. That's in the dirt again as O'Rourke runs the count to 2-2. Tried to get that curveball to dance over the outside corner, but just missed. And a full count. Got in on him and popped him up. The shortstop Escobar. 2 down. Francisco Lindor beat out this ground ball in the second inning. It was a close play. They went to video review and the call stood. And then next time up, he drilled a 2-run opposite field homer.
Yeah, that was an impact in the second inning where they put 4 on the board. So he's really responsible for a lot of the things that take place. And like we say, if anything happens, he usually is involved. He's going to be right in the middle of it. Something's going to be happening. He'll be around it.
He homered in the series opener. And now 5 hits in all in the series. The 1-1, and it's in the dirt. Paints the outside corner. Lindor pops it up on the infield. Foul territory. Mauer makes the catch. Indians go in order. We go to the 7th. 7-0 Cleveland. Baseball is brought to you by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. The Indians with a 7-0 lead as we go to the 7th inning.
We finally see some bodies up in the Indians bullpen. Looks like McAllister.
Hunter singled in the second. It's one of only 2 hits allowed by Cody Anderson tonight. Breaking ball in the dirt. That's going to find its way out of play. It was 34 years ago today that the Minnesota Twins played their final game at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington.
Yeah, they opened up, what, in 82?
At the Metrodome.
Yep.
Big hopper to short. Lindor can take his time. 1 away. Let's go down to Andre. As you look at this Indians pitching staff and the rotation, who fits where going forward. Rick just mentioned it. Cody Anderson's been strong down the stretch. Josh Tomlin's been strong down the stretch. They've got some options.
They do have some options, and we're going to see another option tomorrow. They're going to change things up a little bit, and they're going to get Mr. Bauer back on the mound. Trevor Bauer will make his last start of 2015 tomorrow, and they're going to have they're going to have Tomlin on Friday.
Okay.
And then we will go with Kluber on Saturday, and we will close the season out with Danny Salazar on the mound on Sunday. Right. Basically moved everybody back a day, but they wanted to get Trevor one more start before the end of the year. Had a long talk with Trevor today, too, and he's ready to have this start as well to try to kind of get rid of the cobwebs, but also send himself off in the end of the season with some good vibes.
You know, he doesn't want to pitch out of the bullpen. You know that. He's a starter, always has been, so I'm sure he's looking forward to it. Hopefully he could end it on a good note.
So Bauer, Tomlin, Kluber, Salazar.
Right.
Aaron Hicks 0 for 2.
And he'll get the young rookie from Minnesota.
Tyler Duffy tomorrow?
Yeah, Duffy will pitch tomorrow, right. Who's done a nice job for Minnesota. And this will end up being really a must-win for Minnesota tomorrow.
Anderson gives up a walk. That's his 4th allowed. But he's only given up the 2 hits, so I guess you can.
You look at a couple of starts ago against the White Sox where he walked 5 and struck out 6 in that ball game. Only gave up 5 hits and only allowed the 1 run.
I get a pinch hitter here for the catcher, Chris Herman, Danny Santana. Down and in, ball 1. Popped in the air, left field. Martinez, 2 down. Enjoy an evening of networking and collegiate boxing in iconic Tower City Center. The Cleveland Boxing Invitational, presented by First National Bank, returns on November the 13th. For more information, visit clevelandboxinginvitational.com. With 2 down, Eduardo Escobar to the plate. He walked in the third, flied out in the fifth. Pulled foul.
So far on the night, Cody Anderson, 9 outs on 3 pitches or less. That's why, he's able to keep that pitch count down, even though he has walked 4. And there's another one. Make it 10.
Lindor goes to first with the throw, and the inning is over. We've reached the 7th inning stretch with the Tribe on top 7-0. Stretch time brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Cody Anderson with another strong outing here tonight. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next. Alan Jensen will break it down. I'm sure Jensen will have plenty to say about Cody Anderson's magnificent outing. Gave up just 2 hits, shutout baseball, a couple of strikeouts, 4 walks.
Yeah, looking to go 5-1 in start number 9 after an Indians loss this year.
Not to mention run his win streak to 5 in a row.
5 in a row, yeah, all against the Central. Yes, indeed. He's going to end up having a very good offseason and to look back on and feel good about himself. Eric Fryer stays in the game, or goes into the game and catches.
Ricky Nolasco. Been out since really the end of May, early June 1st. He had a right ankle impingement. And Nolasco's one of those guys too. You talk about throwing the dice as an organization when you go out on that free agent market. Big bouncer. One away. I mean, Nolasco was signed by the Twins, and hey, they were looking for starting pitching. You had a veteran guy here who hopefully can give you some innings. Well, what happens? Last year he goes 6-12 with a 5.38 ERA. This year he misses almost the entire season or most of it.
Yeah.
And he's still signed for 2 more years.
And Nolasco, a guy that spent a lot of his time in the National League, and a little bit different coming over in the American League. But the key is, if you go out and you sign somebody, and all right, even if he has a bad year, that's okay, but you need him to pitch. That's what you're paying these guys to do. When you're a team where Minnesota can't afford to go out and shell out a 4-year deal, $40 million, much like the Indians and a lot of other ball clubs, if he's not out there giving you 30 starts or near 200 innings, it hurts your team because now you have to replace him with someone else, and you don't have the money to do it.
Swung on and missed. Lonnie went chasing after it in the dirt. 2 down. Well, let's take a peek at what's going on in the wild card situation right now. Texas is steamrolling Detroit 6-2. They're in the 6th inning. Rangers trying to hold off the Angels, who came into today's action having won 7 in a row. They knocked Houston out of the wild card spot. Astros, I don't think they've started yet.
No, they're starting at 10 just about now, but the Angels are getting beat right now. Oakland came back, and I think it's 7-5 in that ball game.
Okay.
8-5, Oakland.
Wow.
So now the Rangers have a chance to go to a 3-game lead with that 4-game series coming up this weekend in Arlington.
Yeah, Oakland has come back 8-5 in the 8th inning.
Angels with 4 errors in that game. Wow. I wonder how many of those runs are unearned.
And the A's have committed 2 errors, so a sloppy game, 6 in all.
Murph says only 2 runs were earned out of those 8.
Wow.
So in other words, that's gift.
Johnson down on strikes.
Talk about quick work.
Indians go 1-2-3, and Nolasco sharp here in the 7th. But it's all Cleveland tonight.
Authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians.
Indians on top 7-0 as we roll on to the 8th inning. And after Cody Anderson fired 7 shutout frames, he'll yield to Zach McAllister, who comes on to face the Twins' top of the order here in the 8th inning.
McAllister on for the 59th time. Record dead even, 4-4. He'll get the top of the lineup for the Twins. For Cody Anderson, though, the first 4 innings, he had 1 ground ball out, 9 in the air, and 2 strikeouts. In the 5, 6, and 7, he had 6 ground ball outs and 3 in the air. 97 pitches.
Well, and the other thing is the only hits he allowed were 2-out singles. Two 2-out singles.
Right.
So they never let him really get a rally started.
No, he did not.
In fact, they never had their leadoff man aboard.
Yeah, through the lineup, first time 29 pitches, 34 the second time, 34 the third time. Just another fine performance by Cody.
McAllister behind Dozier 2-0. High fly ball into right field, and Lonnie Chisenhall is there. 1 down. Well, as promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. So let's take a look at Cody Anderson and what he did tonight.
First of all, he fielded his position well to get one there. Then some easy fly ball outs. Had a couple of strikeouts. Well, yeah, he was on cruise control all night long.
And a fastball strike. Joe Mauer is 0 for 2 with a walk. You know, with McAllister coming into the game, it got me thinking. One of the funniest things that you see on an almost nightly basis here at Progressive Field is when the teams line up for the national anthem. All the Indians players come out and stand in front of the dugout. And you've got Michael Martinez, who's out in left field tonight. Michael goes 5'9", and he'll stand right in between Zach McAllister and Ryan Webb, who are both 6'6". And he'll just stand there and look up at each of them. It's pretty funny to watch him in between those two twin towers.
The skyline of New York.
Yeah. Miguel Sano drew a walk his last time up. For a big guy who has as much power as Sano does, he manipulates the bat very well, whether it's pull the hands in. And he also seems to have a pretty good idea of the strike zone. Doesn't seem to chase a lot of bad pitches. Not always trying to hit home runs is what I'm trying to say.
Well, you see his front foot. A lot of times, those hitters that have that leg kick, you know, they keep it up, and a lot of times it's a timing thing. He's got a little leg kick, and it's up and down. And he's quick through the zone for a big guy. He can generate a lot of power.
Almost looks like he's more closed with that front leg.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he looks like he's got a very good idea in the batter's box for a young hitter. You know, he's only played in 76 games, 17 doubles, 17 homers, and 51 ribbies.
Again, there's another example. 2-2 pitch. It's a fastball. It's up. It's away. He's just not interested. He's not just wailing away trying to knock everything 500 feet.
Oh, but he did there.
Well, he got one there, and he got all of it. That'll spoil the shutout as Miguel Sano hits his 18th home run of the year. And that goes back to what I was talking about, though. He's, for a guy with that kind of size and that kind of power, he's pretty selective. He knows what he's looking for. And when he gets it, he gets it.
Well, that's number 18. And watch this fastball. See, he got to the ball. He knew a fastball was coming. That's why he smoked it. He went with the fastball 2-2, and he missed with it. Now he had to come in on the plate, and you stayed pretty much in the same area, up and away. And, boy, I'll tell you what, he got the barrel head of the bat to that baseball, and it got out of here in a hurry. So the Twins are on the board.
They tell us 436 feet.
That was just a line drive for him.
Plouffe chases a breaking ball down low. And it's 1-2. Fastball paints the outside part of the plate, and Plouffe can do nothing but watch it go by. Sano gets the Twins on the board, but the Indians lead it 7-1. Let's look back at our key to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Cody Anderson, avoid the big inning. Well, he avoided that and more tonight. Stellar performance. And as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, Ricky Nolasco will stay on for a second inning of relief work. No Twins pitcher has been able to complete 2 innings in this game so far tonight. Mike Pelfrey, the starter, was knocked out after an inning and 2/3. J.R. Graham came on. He pitched 1 inning. Brian Dunsing went an inning and a third. Phil Hughes and Ryan O'Rourke each pitched an inning. And now Nolasco trying to go 2.
Well, he breezed through his first inning. You would figure a 7-1 ball game, these guys would be up there staying aggressive and swinging the bat. It's been a long day. True doubleheader after the rain out yesterday. Minnesota winning the first game 7-1. Indians leading this one 7-1. Awful tough to win 2 games in a day. There's another base hit.
Almonte inside the line. He's got extra bases again. And it's his second double of the night. And he's got a 3-hit performance. Well, speaking of doubleheaders and long days, let's go down to Andre Nutt.
Our day started with me talking to Torrey Hunter and him saying that the game has changed and guys are soft. Well, with Yogi Berra passing away last week, I looked up some numbers in doubleheaders. Between 1950 and 1955, Yogi Berra caught 94 complete doubleheaders. Every inning of both games, 94 times. Think about that, guys.
And how many years?
From 50 to 55. You know, you're probably playing back then. I kid.
I was, we were roomies.
Yeah, right.
Well, think about it. They used to schedule doubleheaders.
Right.
You get Monday off. Every Sunday seemed to be a doubleheader, but yeah.
Well, here's another
90,
one.
huh?
Yeah, 94. He played 94 and complete doubleheaders, played every inning. The Yankees played doubleheaders on 3 straight days back in 53 on July 4th, 5th, and 6th. Bear caught every inning of every game but one. No kidding. His manager gave him the last game off after playing 5 in a row.
Well, that was nice of him.
Imagine if you did that today.
Well, they wouldn't let you do it today.
So that's roughly, if I got that right, that's 15 doubleheaders
a year,
every year for 6 straight years.
That's about right. That's about right. What they would do, but then every Monday was off. Yeah. You know, so they would schedule doubleheaders, have giveaways, and man. But that was when they were playing, 154 games, too.
Think about the toll that had to take on a guy's knees, just from the catching position alone. Squatting down 18 innings in a day.
Hey, don't worry about that. You know what? When your knees blow, give me someone else. See you later. No shock absorbers. Wow, that puts a lot of things in perspective. 94 doubleheaders. You won't see 94 doubleheaders in how many years of baseball now?
Adam Moore goes down swinging. 1 down here in the 8th. Third strikeout for Nolasco.
Ouch. Be a new piece of lumber for Martinez.
I was just looking back, Rick. Last year there were 5 doubleheaders. This year 3.
For the Indians?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, none of those scheduled.
Right.
Yeah, what is it about baseball, do you suppose, that somebody came up with that idea and said, that's a good idea. Let's play 2 games.
Well, you give the fans, 2 for the price of 1.
But there's not another sport that does that or has ever done that.
Well, there's not another sport that plays 150 games a year. So now on 162.
I mean, I remember there was a time way back when football teams in preseason would have like triple header, or they would scrimmage 3 teams and they would, but I can't, I never heard of an NBA doubleheader or an NHL doubleheader.
No, well, when you were young, coming to the ballpark, had a chance to see, didn't you look forward to a doubleheader and maybe a giveaway?
A fan,
You know, that's what I'm thinking. I think that's what the whole
value for the fan.
Right.
But still, at some point, somebody had to say, is this good for the players? Is this good for our team, our product on the field?
I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody. They've been around forever.
I mean, I get it that football is a brutally physical sport, and it just wouldn't make sense to play 2 games in one day. But NBA?
Oh, they're going to walk Kipnis here. 7-1 game, they're going to walk Kipnis? Really?
Weird. Yeah, I don't suppose you could play 2 NHL games in the same day. That's probably another sport that would be too physically taxing.
This I find pretty weird right here.
And Molitor might be hearing it from the Indians dugout. It does seem strange in a 7-1 ball game.
7-1 ball game. You've got 2 outs, man on second base.
Look at Kurt Suzuki behind him. He's trying to hide his face. Is that maybe?
I don't understand.
Is that a young catcher? Is that Eric Fryer? Maybe sort of forgetting.
No. I don't know. I don't know why.
Uh-oh, Jose Ramirez, liftoff, deep right, goodbye. You want to intentionally walk Kipnis? Go ahead. Ramirez with a 3-run homer with 2 outs in the 8th inning. And Minnesota is up barking now at Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, they are.
Wow, look at, they are fired up over there.
Yes, they are. He just woke him up. Look at everybody. Came up. Did you see him, though? What he did with the bat?
I did not. I was watching the ball.
Yeah.
I didn't see the
You
bat
watch
flip.
this. Oh, my goodness, yes. You watch this.
Was this because he was reacting, thinking, okay, you're going to walk him to pitch to me?
Do not know. I don't know.
Well, it's
we'll
10-1
find out about
Cleveland.
it tomorrow. Now it is, yeah.
I wouldn't dig in if I was Lindor. In the dirt, ball 1.
So let's check it out and see. Gets a high fastball. There's the pose. Now you didn't even see him. He ended up flipping his bat way up in the air in front of their dugout, and that brought everybody to the top step.
Lindor shoots one the other way. Foul.
There you go. Now watch the bat. Look at that. Up in the air, man. No, you don't do that. That's not. There's the manager. You got the catcher. You got the coaching staff. And, they're not good. That is right there like disrespecting the game. Put your bat down. Run the bases.
That falls under the category of what, showing up your opponent?
Absolutely. Oh, and I'm telling you what. They got one more game tomorrow, and there goes the 3rd out. We'll talk about it later.
But Ramirez puts an exclamation point on an otherwise dominating performance by the Tribe. 10-1 Cleveland.
The Indians as we enter the ninth inning, and the man right there, Jose Ramirez, 3-run home run. He electrified the crowd in more ways than one just a few moments ago, Jensen.
What are you doing walking Kipnis? Up 7-1.
That's a good point.
You get to Ramirez. I mean, the bat flip probably a little excessive, but
that's true too.
Hey, you want to walk in to get there, stand and admire it. I got no problem with that.
We've got a lot to talk about coming up on Indians Live. It's brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. You will definitely want to stay tuned. For now, let's go back upstairs to Matt and Rick for the call in the ninth inning, guys.
Well, you may not have a problem with it, Jensen, but I know the Minnesota Twins are having a big problem with it. That's something you just don't do in a game like this. It's been a long day. You might have woke them up for tomorrow, too.
Well, I don't think they need
awaken. They don't.
With everything at stake. But I understand what you're saying.
Well, you gave them a much bigger edge. Austin Adams coming on now.
Eddie Rosario fouls it off. In the dirt. 2 balls and a strike. Max Kepler in the on-deck circle to pinch hit here in the ninth for Torrey Hunter. Rosario drives one at deep left. Martinez looking up, and it is gone. Eddie Rosario with home run number 13. Rosario with the Twins' second solo home run on the night. Watch Rosario as he goes around the bag. He is pointing and yelling at Jose Ramirez.
Boy. Yeah, look at that.
Max Kepler got called up a week ago. Made his major league debut with a pinch hit strikeout. Had a terrific year. He was the MVP in the Southern League. Michael Brantley, if you missed it earlier, will be sidelined for the remaining games this year. Got some inflammation in that shoulder. They want to just get it quieted down so he can go into the offseason, get strong, and come back next year ready to go. Terry Francona lauding his efforts as to the pain that he played throughout much of the season and the leader that he has emerged into. Kepler pops that one foul and out of play. And the payoff pitch. Swung on and miss. He strikes him out. 1 away.
Well, this is something that we were talking about. Ramirez on that home run after the walk to Kipnis. Hit it out of here, and he posed there. Ends up flipping the bat in front of their dugout, and there is not one person in that dugout that's happy. There's the manager, there's the catcher, the coaching staff, and boy, oh boy. That was not right.
Big bouncer to second. And Ramirez throws him out, 2 down. Eddie Rosario came back here in the ninth, and he lifts one to the bleachers. And then as he goes around second base, he was barking at Jose Ramirez.
Now, look, this kid's a rookie, too. You know what I mean? So he knows that that's something you're not supposed to do.
Oh, man, that nailed Adam Moore. Two down on the ninth. Indians up 10-2. And Eric Fryer can't catch up to it. Two-strike pitch. Line to left. That'll get down and go to the wall. Fryer into second base with a 2-out double.
Yeah, the fifth hit for Minnesota.
Angels trying to come back on Oakland. They've cut the gap to 8-7 in the bottom of the ninth. Eduardo Escobar is 0 for 2 with a walk. Bouncing ball to Ramirez from the outfield grass. Throws him out to end the game. The Indians split the doubleheader with a convincing 10-2 win in the nightcap. Indians go to 78 and 79. Twins fall to 82 and 76. Cody Anderson, the winner. He's 7-3, and he's won his last 5 starts in a row. Mike Pelfrey, the loser. He falls to 6-11 on the season. Indians took it to the Twins early here tonight, scoring 4 times in the second, adding a run in the third, then a Francisco Lindor 2-run homer in the fourth. Pretty much put the game out of reach. And then they would get a 3-run homer from Jose Ramirez that we've already talked about at length in the 8th. 10-2 is the final. We'll be back with some final thoughts right after this.